SNL's 50th last night. I watched all 4 hours plus if you include the red carpet. What a massive undertaking. Steve Martin did an amazing job on the monologue at the beginning. Kim Kardashian was great. She's a good actress. I thought she was good. Will Ferrell, Eddie Murphy. God, it's so good to see. Eddie Murphy, when he's into it, he lights up a room. And all of his stuff was great. I'm not getting into the negative stuff. People are slicing all of that because there's a bigger thing. And that was this, the giant miss, inserting Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively into the festivities. Okay, so they arrive onto the red carpet. Every entertainment outlet, publication on the planet posted them laughing, smiling. The comment sections were brutal. Vogue posts like nothing is happening. Like it's just a regular night. Hey, there's Ryan and there's Blake. Inside, Tina and Amy are taking questions from the audience. Okay, Ryan's hand goes up. I've got a question. So this moment ensues.
Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Okay. Little tone deaf, right? Why? Because, we're making light of the whole situation because it centers on your wife accusing a guy of sexual harassment, right? That's why it's no laughing matter, sexual harassment. So to kind of try to make light of the whole thing didn't go over well. Again, comment section, people going nuts on every post, not liking it, way over 90%. Baldoni versus Lively. This thing is, I likened it last week to like Lance Armstrong. Dug himself so deep in the lie that he couldn't get out. He was at the point of no return. Are they there? So the day after the New York Times ran their smear campaign hit piece on Justin Baldoni, December 20th, in collusion with Blake Lively and her pitbull publicist, Leslie Sloan, who's a tough person. I got a lot of experience with her. William Morris Endeavor, the talent agency who repped Blake and Ryan and Justin, made their choice. Clearly, they were expected to make a choice. Either Baldoni or Ryan and Blake, and William Morris dropped Baldoni like a hot rock. A couple days ago, William Morris's CEO, Ari Emanuel, made it seem like a moral act of loyalty, like that exists in Hollywood. He heaped praise on Ryan and Blake as soulfully beautiful people, flawless, really. He mocked Baldoni in the process. He said, it's an effed up bad situation with what Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. Now, he said Lively and Reynolds are good people. They've been in the business for decades and have never had any bad press about them. And all the people that work with them like them. Okay, he must not have the internet. So if it's true, so Ari goes on to say, if it's true what they're saying in that allegation, by the way, if it's true what Blake is saying, then these are bad guys. He goes on to say they didn't have an intimacy coordinator on the set, and they went after Blake on social media. It's disgusting. First of all, of course they had an intimacy coordinator, and Blake refused to meet with him or denied, said, I don't need to meet with the intimacy coordinator. I'll see you on set. I'm all good. So, then Baldoni is tasked as the director with going to break down what happened when he met with the intimacy coordinator so he could get her up to date on it all. So Ari Emanuel did all this on the Freakonomics podcast. He is a true Hollywood power player, right? He's feared. However, he is not an honest arbiter in this debacle. I mean, Ryan's 10% is a lot more lucrative to the agency than Baldoni's. I mean, if George Clooney were a client of William Morris and said, fire Billy Bush immediately and don't worry about it, they would fire me in 2 seconds. I would be so gone, right? And whenever they, if he told them to say something about me, they would. I mean, this is just, it's huge business. So, and I mean, let me tell you something. Ari Emanuel is an amazing guy. He scares me to death. I've been out to dinner with him before. He's very entertaining. When I was joining William Morris as a client, I went to his office. They brought me down part of the Dog and Pony Show. They bring me down to his office. He's on the headset, just like in Entourage, right? Ari Gold. The Jeremy Piven character is modeled after Ari Emanuel. He's on the headset. He's screaming at some studio executive. He's got this golf swing device on his arms, and he's swinging it in the office. It's like so cliche, but totally happening. When he finishes the call, he and I talk, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Let me see that golf device. He shows me, he fits me. It's like the whole thing. The next day, one arrived to my office with a little note from Ari. This guy is charming and frightening. But of course, he made his choice, right? He's going to go with Ryan. But he said some things about Baldoni there where I just don't think he knows really what's going on. He did use the word if. If these things that Blake is saying, and I believe them to be amazing people, if they're true, then Baldoni's a terrible guy. Okay, sure, if they are. But it just doesn't seem like they are at all. Not even close. More importantly, Blake's legal team has finally made a move. And they needed to make a move, right? They've been on their heels for a while. Baldoni's team drops a massive $400 million suit on Blake and a lawsuit against the New York Times. Then they publish 170 pages of perfectly documented texts and emails between all the parties that basically show Blake to be the aggressor. Here's the proof in the writing. They show that Blake is the one that colluded and conspired to get this movie and this IP out of his control so Blake could run the show. In that massive upload of documents, Blake leverages her friendship with Taylor Swift against Baldoni. She says, I'm like Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, and my husband Ryan and my best friend Taylor are my dragons. They inspire me. They support me. Well, Taylor has been silent. Not a peep from Taylor. You know what I mean? Look, question for the women out there. If you tell your best friend you were sexually harassed by a guy, wouldn't you hope that that dragon would breathe a little fire on that jerk in your defense? I mean, and Taylor's fire is powerful because it ignites the Swifties, and they are powerful. What a loyal fan base. The Swifties just bombarded a restaurant owned by the mother of a Philadelphia Eagles player, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, with terrible Yelp reviews, calling the place horrible, inedible, all that stuff. Because C.J. trolled Taylor on social media after the Eagles beat the Chiefs. He shared a picture of himself staring down at Travis during the game and added the caption, should have stayed with that thick shht, referring to Travis's ex-girlfriend whom he dated on and off for 5 years, a more full-figured woman than Taylor. A ruthless shot, but the Swifties slammed this guy's parents' restaurant with Yelp reviews that are just brutal. Yeah, so Taylor has been silent. Now, she's not known to stay silent. She writes songs about bad guys. She donated $250,000 7 years ago to Kesha, remember? To help with her legal fees after a judge refused to let her out of a 6-album contract with Dr. Luke, whom she alleged sexually, physically, emotionally abused her. Yeah, Taylor gave $250,000 to Kesha in support of her. Demi Lovato, Gaga, Kelly Clarkson, they all posted up. They all had Kesha's back. Has Taylor stepped away from her friendship with Blake? Oh, yes, she has. She's not, scared to stand up for someone, a friend who's been harassed. She's proven that she'll do it. She must not believe it. But Team Baldoni will no doubt tread lightly on bringing Taylor into the equation because, Baldoni probably knows that the Swifties, might sack his line of hair ties or whatever with bad reviews, too. Is Bryan Freedman here? Do we have the great Bryan Freedman? Okay, this is great. Okay, the man who's running point for Justin Baldoni is his lawyer, Bryan Freedman, who's represented a lot of people. I mean, one Google search will overwhelm you. But Bryan is with us right now. Hey, Bryan, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Billy. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Busiest man in the business there. So I'm sure you saw that, that Blake and Ryan were at SNL's 50th last night. Justin, if I'm not mistaken, is on vacation right now with his kids in Hawaii. Is he still there? Do you speak to him?
I do speak to him. I speak to him often. I wouldn't call it vacation. I don't think anybody who's been accused of heinous, arguably what are crimes, is on vacation. I think that he is trying to gather with his family and get some semblance of peace.
How's he doing? What's his state of mind while all this is going on? I noticed a couple pictures. He's trying to play with his kids as the paparazzi catch him. I've been in that situation before, where just things you're trying to be a good family man and play with your kids while like terrible stuff is happening out there. I think everybody goes in the barrel. But how is his mental health? Is he all right? This guy?
I think he's hopeful, and I think he's grateful. He's grateful he's with his family. He's grateful that he could be with his family, and he's grateful that he could let other fire victims use his house, so it could come of some use. But like anyone else who would be going through a situation where you're accused of something that you did not do, and are suffering in a public way. I think it's distressful, to say the least.
Bryan, what's interesting to me now is a lot of these people who turned their back on Justin Baldoni right off the bat. Like, he did a podcast called the Man Enough Podcast, and he did it with this woman. Liz Plank is his partner in the podcast. Soon as this New York Times thing, comes out, that Blake and the New York Times put out on December 20th, Liz Plank, a couple days later, drops Baldoni. I'm stepping away from the podcast, given the light of what we've learned here. Brandon Sklenar, who's the other male lead, I guess, in It Ends With Us, he supports Blake in the beginning. He unfollows Baldoni. Just this morning, he seems to have moved to neutral. He is now, they're asking him, are you Team Baldoni or are you Team Lively? He says, I'm Team the movie. I have a friend who went through this. He is now completely backed away. And there are these HR complaints that are circulating around social media, alleged complaints, that say there are two other women on the cast who also had situations with Justin that were no good. One saying, oh, he grabbed my butt while he was helping me in a scene. And the other one, just not good. But they're heavily redacted. And what I understand is that these were circulated to major news organizations, and they did not go with it. They decided not to run it for fear of defamation, I'm sure, for fear of you and defamation. So they didn't run it. But some of these TikTokers have done it. It's out there. Do you have any information as to how this got out there? And is this slander? Is this something you're looking into?
I think we're looking into everything. It's interesting. Let me ask you, what are the dates of these HR complaints? Do you know the dates?
There's no dates. The dates are redacted. The names of the complainants are redacted, except for on one of them, there's an M. And in Blake's original, when she went to Sony, and by the way, they're not to Wayfarer Studios, Justin's company, they're to Sony, the distributor, to their HR department, and there's an M in there, which means at least one of the other ones came around the same time, if it's May, unless it was March, but probably May, same time as Blake.
Right. Well, it sounds like we're playing Wheel of Fortune with the letters. I might buy a vowel to try to find out what month that is. I'd like to, I'm not really sure why the dates are redacted. That's interesting. I understand why people could be redacted. I believe in certain privacy rights, certainly. But I'm not really clear on why dates would be redacted. So it'll be interesting to see what the dates are. And as far as Sony is concerned, I believe there's a Variety article that I read that's published, that's out there, that says Sony received no complaints.
Yeah, Sony has said they received no complaints. So Sony's going to have to, it seems to me that if Blake wants this to stick, or, the other two, no one else is coming forward saying that they also were harassed or experienced anything untoward with their director, Justin Baldoni. But Blake's going to have to get Sony to come forward, and I don't think they have. And if they haven't, I don't see them coming forward until it's time. Would you, I guess we'll eventually know, right? Someone from Sony will have to say something.
Right. I'm unaware of any other, frankly, HR complaints that have been filed. And I think if you look through the website and you look through the documents, you can see clearly from certain documents that there were no HR complaints filed.
Right. And that is true. There were not. So Blake's team, their latest move just before the weekend, they're trying to subpoena 2.5 years of phone records. Okay, and that means every communication, not just with all the parties, but basically 2.5 years of Justin Baldoni texting, calling anyone. I mean, God forbid someone looks through my phone for 2.5 years. I get canceled again, big guy. No one wants. Pretty soon we're going to cancel people for thoughts that they're having. But they want if you represented Blake, could you do that? Would a judge ever, under any circumstances, allow 2.5 years of your every communication with every person alive to be made public?
I think that the law requires that things be narrowly tailored so that they're related to at least the case you're dealing with, unless there's some good reason to not have it narrowly tailored. Again, you mentioned the latest move. Wasn't the latest move last night?
Oh, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that seemed like that might be the latest move.
What did you think when you saw, Ryan, make light of the situation? I guess try to find some humor in all this.
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation. I can't think of anyone who's done anything like that. And so it surprised me. And
it leads us to this moment now where Blake's legal team has gone. They have an amended complaint, right? They went to the judge and said, we need to amend our complaint. We want some time. I think the judge said, you're not taking a ton of time. You can have until Monday. Well, that's today. Maybe it's tomorrow because, it's President's Day. But apparently their team is coming with an amended complaint. What does that mean? I assume they're still going to have the allegations of harassment and they're not going to, downplay it more than that. Do you have any idea what's coming your way in that? Not really. I mean, amended complaints happen all the time. People change their complaints all the time. Rarely do you see, though, people change the complaint to such a degree that you change your story completely. So, my assumption would be the story will be similar. And there may be things that are additive to it, but it feels like things that we saw last night. Things that asking for a broad range of discovery. When you ask for every document for 2.5 years, you as a lawyer should know that that's inappropriate. A lot of people could think that they're waiting for a response, and that our response would be to object to that, and they would then make a statement in the media saying, oh, look, they don't want the truth. Mr. Baldoni's team does not want the truth to come out. We actually want all evidence to come out that's proper and appropriate evidence. But it feels like that was gamesmanship and not really appropriate in terms of what's proper discovery. Talking to Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Bryan Freedman here. Bryan, when you take on a client, you probably know this is going to be another big high-profile situation, and you've been in several of them before, but this is probably the biggest one as far as news cycle and certainly news interest. How extensively do you vet your client? How long do you and Justin talk about this so you feel comfortable in representing him? Because you're as bullish on this guy as there is.
I looked through every document, every email, every text message, listened to stories, listened to the history of what he's been through, listened to voice notes, and really try to evaluate, the strength of the defense of the case. And frankly, in this case, the strength of his claims. And like a lawyer is obligated to do, really want to make sure that I go through, as much as possible to really understand what exactly happened, or at least what it seems like happened. And I did that, thoroughly in this case, and really got an understanding as to what happened and what didn't happen. And certainly more, evidence will come to light and more information will come to light. And I think people will see it in a similar fashion. But, it's an honor to represent Justin. And I say that because of the person he is, what he's been through. And like you, Billy, I mean, you went through something that was so not appropriate. NBC treated you in such a poor way. And frankly, you're about, I don't know what the ultimate resolution was, but the resolution should have ended up with a lot of people at NBC being fired and you getting a large check, and them apologizing at a minimum. And that wasn't right. You weren't treated fairly. And honestly, Justin has not been treated fairly.
Oh boy, and no disrespect to my lawyer who has passed on. You're a wonderful man, a good, lovely guy. But boy, I was ground zero. I sure wish you were around. I've spoken to you before about this situation, and I've been But anyway, the PTSD just kind of comes up a little bit.
And here's the great thing about you, right? Is that you bounce back, and you're terrific at what you do. You're a great guy. I don't know if people know you're a fantastic pickleball player.
Very good.
And you take it very seriously. But you know what? Who you are as a person shine through. And at the end of the day, you're going to be successful in whatever you do.
So, Bryan, thank you, buddy. You're sitting there. So basically, this 170-some page document that you put out of all these communications with Justin and Blake and Ryan and Jamie Heath, Justin's producing partner, and the publicists and all these people, you basically started building that document the moment you met Justin. And then did you get to a point where you're like, I'm just going to make this public? This is all a chain here that, people can read for themselves.
I mean, if I can look at it and I can look through it and I can see truth and the client's telling the truth and I'm hearing truth from others, what are we afraid of? What is it? What are we afraid of? Put it out there. Put the receipts out there. You have them. And look, it's not just me. I mean, you've seen social media. You've seen some mainstream media, certainly not the New York Times, but you've seen social media and these TikTokers and people on YouTube. They're amazing. They're brilliant.
Yeah, Candace Owens. Candace Owens has been on this like you wouldn't believe. She's a tigress. And the Steph with the deets on TikTok. I mean, there's so many people that are fascinated here, but they're justice warriors. You know what I mean? They see an injustice. And now with metadata and all this stuff, you can track so much of this stuff. I mean, people are doing, you've got free paralegals out there, man.
And they, arguably we could live in a justice system one day where those types of people that have that type of information that are willing to do that type of diligence should actually be the jury one day. And as you know, they are the jury for years. because people are canceled, people have projects taken away from them, people are ridiculed, people are shunned. Right away, right when the allegation happens. There's no and these people actually give someone a chance to dig through things and let the public say, say to the public, hold on, this doesn't seem like this doesn't seem to be true. There are things that show up that are different than what is being said. And thank God and thank the universe for those people out there, because it's just one person helping another, and we're all trying to get to the truth.
So there was mediation, like there was an idea of mediation, and both sides, your side and Blake's, shot it down. No one wanted. No, were you open to mediating this, and the other side said no? Because I don't understand why this could and should end, but it has to be them, right?
Well, I'll comment on what I can. In what was filed with the court before the Rule 26 hearing, the question was asked about whether we would be willing to go to mediation, and whether we were open to that. Our answer to that was no. We're not willing to do anything until Justin is cleared of being called a predator, of being called a sexual harasser. Until that is determined to have not happened, we will be doing this.
What is most important to Justin? The 400 million or some kind of financial settlement to make up for maybe lost work. Has he lost work? Has he lost have people backed away from him for a future project?
A substantial amount of work.
Really? Reminds me of Army Hammer, just like everything on the slate gone. So, geez, out he goes. That's really too bad for Justin. But so what happens with him now? I mean, what do you do? Does he want the money? Does he want a full-blown apology by Blake? Does he want her to fall on the sword and say, I made this up? What do you need to hear? What does he need to hear?
I think he wants a determination. I know he wants a determination that he did not engage in the behavior that is alleged, and that he did not engage in sexual harassment or create a smear campaign or anything like that. And there have been some serious allegations leveled against him that he's not making jokes about, that he's not creating movies and other things where he makes a joke about his situation. What he wants is justice. He wants a chance to be able to prove that he's a good person, and he is a good person.
Yeah. I mean, this poor guy, I mean, he has been under major. I keep bringing up the example of Lance Armstrong. When he was wrong, he was definitely caught doping. He started tearing down the world around him. He started saying, well, that guy did this, and that guy's a liar, and this one, this. And he started burning scorched earth all around him because he was so far in. He was past the point of return. He couldn't come back. Do you think that that's what's happening here? That's why you called this, subpoena, this attempt to subpoena 2.5 years of every phone call Justin Baldoni's ever made, a massive fishing expedition? Is that what's happening here?
I actually don't know what's happening there. I don't know if it's that or anything else. But I can tell you this: Justin is not disparaging anyone or going after anyone's character or doing anything that is otherwise untoward. And he's given very clear instructions to me and the legal team to really, be above board and to really, treat people with respect. And that's what we're trying to do within the search to show the court and the truth of what happened. And, documents don't lie. People do.
I mean, it would just be amazing that a guy like Justin Baldoni, who does a podcast with a woman named Liz Plank about being a better man, about, what he's like, he calls himself a feminist. He wears the T-shirt. I mean, if this guy was a sexual harasser, it would be like, the Catholic Church scandal that happens. It'd be monumentally mind-blowing, of a takedown. It's just... I mean, it's almost like, did she not even do research into who the guy is? I mean, he would be a huge fraud, but you know him well, right? I mean, you know this man, you know his family, you know his wife. You like him? Jesus.
One of the great things about my job is that I get to be with people and see them in the deepest, darkest moments of their life.
Yeah.
And in situations where, they've never been before. And I have the opportunity to work with them and to try to find the gift. Because although this is what no one would wish for, maybe there's something that's a real gift here. And maybe what this will turn out and the gift that will happen is that people will stand up to those that have more power. And they will say, I'm not just going to back down and go away. And they will stand up and say, no matter what it takes, I'm going to prove that I am correct. And this person is not correct. And what's being leveled against me is not true.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what he will be remembered for one day. But it's, again, he is such a good person and become such a friend and someone I have such great compassion for and empathy for. But there's another reason for this, and we may never know about it. But the truth is, Justin is a really, really honorable human being.
Well, you mentioned people with power. Ari Emanuel is powerful, is as powerful as it gets in the world of agents in Hollywood. And he came out and said, if these allegations are true, then Baldoni he was smart to say if, but he said then Baldoni and his producer are really, really bad guys. Have you spoken to Ari, and do you think his motives are anything more than financial? Because Ryan is an extremely huge client.
A lot of people thought Martin Luther King was a bad person and outrageous. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of history here.
We've got Baldoni now as Martin Luther King. Baldoni. Oh my God.
Yeah, I just say that because you never want to prejudge a situation.
Right.
You want to really look at the facts and look at the evidence and understand what it is that's going on, and really, really take your time with it. I think it's important for that. And, Ari Emanuel has a client, and it's two clients in this case. He used to have three.
Yeah.
But has clients. He represents his clients. Well, what would one expect him to say?
Has anyone picked up Justin Baldoni? Any agency, CAA or UTA or some of the competing agencies? Have they picked up Baldoni? Or
I don't think he's in a position right now
Doesn't care.
He's taking meetings or doing anything like that. I don't think he's in a position at the moment to do that. But there are, look, he's an extremely talented person. I believe that that this will go wonderfully in his favor, and I do believe they'll be working again one day.
So if they come with money, and a full-blown apology to Justin, you'll accept it, maybe, and end this as quickly as possible. I think the quicker it ends, probably the better if the terms are met.
Well, let's remember, Justin's not the only one here that's been harmed. There's been accusations leveled at Jen Abel, at Melissa Nathan.
These are the publicists that represent Baldoni, right? Yep. They've been
right.
They've been
There
smeared.
have been other lives that have been, really destroyed. I mean, people were served process the day of the LA fires. People have gone through a lot. This Jed Wallace has sued early on in this. There are other people, Wayfair Studios, and Jamie Heath. Allegations were alleged against Jamie Heath that are horrible.
That's
and
Justin's
completely
producing
untrue.
partner, Justin's partner at Wayfair, who was producing the film with him, and Jed Wallace, who you mentioned, the crisis PR guy that they had to hire when things started to slide. So he's got his own lawsuit against Blake, and she's got one against him. And I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't know how this thing ends, but I think you're probably prepared to go all the way for 13 more months till the court date. Why is it March of 26? Why can't we get this on a little quicker?
March of 26 is actually a really fast date as far as the law is concerned. I mean, I have, cases on, and look, I'm on both sides of this issue. The sexual harassment, domestic violence issues, things like that. I represent Twigs against Shia LaBeouf. And I'm not just on one side of the issue. I'm on the side of the issue that's about truth and about transparency and about, and about honesty. So, unfortunately, the court system, whether it's COVID or whether it's anything else that comes in the way, fires, this, that, or otherwise, court cases and courts get backed up, and it can be 5-6 years until you get your case heard.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, I've kept you for so long. I appreciate it. By the way, you said fires happen. You lost your own home. You've been working and going back and forth, and you're in hotels when you're around Los Angeles because of your own house. I'm so sorry about that, and I hope you've made progress on finding a temporary here in town. But what a terrible loss for you and your wife.
My son taught me something, and one of my sons taught me something. Actually, they both teach me every day. But my son said, everyone's been affected by this fire in Los Angeles in one way or the other. Whether you're, a poolman, or you're a pool person, you're a gardener, you're working for someone. You're a bellman at a hotel that's now more crowded than it was before. Somehow you're affected. And he taught me that if you think about what the other person's going through, that sometimes what you're going through becomes a little bit easier. And I want to take his advice.
I think that's right. It's also a good way to handle anxiety. If you have anxiety in life, think about what other people, just focus on someone else and it goes away. Bryan Freedman, representing Justin Baldoni, ever constant touch, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.